All right, welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. This morning I want to talk matters land ownership and investment. And with me in studio, I have two experts, Silas Akiru, an advocate of the High Court, who will be telling us more about what the law says regarding land ownership rights. And of course, John Mwaura Kogi, CEO of Finsco Africa, to speak matters financing and land. Karibuni sana to TV47 and Morning Cafe. Let's start with you, Mwaura. Just tell us what you do at Finsco Africa. What is Finsco for somebody who don't know what that is?
Thank you so much, and welcome our viewers. My name is Mwaura. I'm the CEO of Finsco Africa. Finsco, we are doing real estate. We do matters concerning housing development. We do matters concerning developing service plots. And we also quite much involved in matters concerning project management. You have a project there, you like us to manage it, we do those kind of stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Silas, and for Karibu Tena, for many Kenyans, owning land is tied so much on security and identity as well. But I know the Constitution says something about land ownership. And if you could just break it down for us, under the Constitution of Kenya 2010, for somebody to own land, how does the law recognize that?
Well, thank you very much for the show once again this morning. As you heard, my name is Silas Akiru, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Constitutionally, land is subdivided into three categories. We have private land, we have community land, and we have public land. Now, public land, that is land owned by the government, and community land is land owned by the community, and private land is that land which you own individually as a person. Now, land ownership in Kenya can be by way of a lease, the long-term leases. We have registration of titles, that is what we commonly call title deeds. And people, rather Kenyans, can always own land either by transmission as inheritance from deceased relatives, or by purchase. You buy land absolutely from somebody, or you may lease land from somebody for a long term. So these are the ways somebody can own land in the country, the recognized ways through which somebody can own land, through which somebody can acquire land, and through which land is categorized in the country.
All right. Now that we have it from the legal perspective, Mwaura, how do you define land ownership from, the business perspective? And why is owning land considered as one of the biggest investments still in Kenya? When we talk about right now we're hearing about big boy purchase, big girl purchase, and we're hearing about land. So why is it considered one of the major investments?
Thank you so much. I think I would like to talk about that point in an economic angle. This country is run by various sectors of the economy. And one of it is the real estate. And if you look at, currently we are talking about a GDP in Kenya of about $110 billion. And out of that, 14% of that is controlled by the real estate. And somebody can ask, how does real estate really matter when it comes to the issue of economy? 70% of Kenyan economy come from taxes, raising of levies, fees, taxes, all those kind of things. And you look at something like a sector like real estate, it has about 8 kind of fees and levies and taxes that you contribute. I'll give you a very good example. You have a big piece of land. I want to give you an example of like 100 acres somewhere. And you want to sell it to me. You, as a land vendor, the one who is selling, you have to pay the government of Kenya stamp duty. What you call a capital gain of 15%. Me, as a person purchasing it from you, because I want to subdivide, I would pay, because I want to subdivide, during the transfer, I will pay stamp duty. So the first one is 15% capital gain. The second one is stamp duty that I'm going to pay as a developer. You are the RAD vendor, I am the developer. Then I subdivide that piece of RAD and I want to sell it to other Kenyans or other people. Those people using that transfer, they also pay stamp duty of about 4%. Okay? Now from there, during the subdivision, there are fees that are normally charged by the county government, subdivision fee. We pay to the county, that is the fourth fee. Then again, once I get the title now, and I want to give it to you, and you want now to, during the, you want to construct a house in your piece of plot, you pay another fee to county government. That is called building approval fee. You see how taxes are coming on the same RAD? Now, that's not the end of the thing. You have now constructed your house. And the materials of the house that you're going to construct is subjected to another tax called 16% VAT. There's value added tax. Then remember, I'm in business. Myself, I'm also subjected as a developer to another tax called income tax, which is 30%, which you still pay from the same RAD that was sold. After paying tax, then we have employed people. These people are subjected to another tax called pay as you earn. I hope you're counting those taxes. So when you see all those taxes, that is how you build an economy from the real estate. And remember, we talk about real estate, we have manufacturing that's involved. It's a factory that is somewhere that requires approval. That factory where we want to do a lot of manufacturing of things, the approval of the factory is also a subject to approval by the county government. It's subject to a certain fee that you pay. So that's how we build an economy. Then you go and find a company like a steel company, this Mabati company, the one that doing cement. All those are employing people, and you create jobs. And those people also will do. We also employ people, and they'll pay tax. And remember, when you're having a project, I told you about 100 acres, for instance, you realize that you may end up borrowing money from the bank, from the same RAD. When you borrow money from the bank, that money that you borrow has an interest. Today, the rate is going up to 16, 17, 18%. That income the bank get, they also pay tax on that one. That is how real estate is contributing. And remember, when the constitution was changed in 2010, RAD became a one of the devolved function of the county government. And so today, most of the where the RAD transactions start, it starts at the county level. So you can imagine if, for instance, county government does not give approval for the same RAD that we are talking about, then you can imagine what can happen to a country.
Very well said. Looks like a very big chain. But let's come back to you, Silas, and talk about title deed. You know, a lot of people, especially, you know, the older generation, most of them live in lands where, you know, title deed is not in question for them. And the question whether and why is title deed so important and the most important documentation that exists for anyone living in any particular land? Break it down for us, why that is so important.
Yeah, well, thank you once again. A certificate of title, as the law knows it, or the title deed as we all know it, is the proof of ownership of land in the country. Without a certificate of title, then it will be difficult for you to claim rights, to claim transferable rights, to claim ownership rights, or to claim beneficial rights over any particular piece of land. Now, title deeds are issued by the registrars upon undertaking certain procedures. First of all, an area is declared an adjudication land. Upon adjudication, then the government takes note of the historical ownership sequence. And then they subdivide those pieces of land into individuals who have lived on that land for such a period of time, undisputed owners. After the subdivision, then they issue title deeds to those owners. However, for those who are purchasing, then it means there is somebody who already has the title to that land, has a right to that land, and has beneficial interests to that land. And so this person has transferable interests, meaning he can transfer his rights to another person. So the other person, known as the purchaser, now pays the agreed sum of money and now takes over the ownership. So what happens that the seller's title deed will have to be recalled and cancelled, and then a new title deed will be issued in the name of the current buyer. Then the seller, now the seller's interests on that land now ceases, and the buyer's interest continues up to the time when he transfers it, either to his descendants or to another buyer who comes with interest on that land. Now, it has been decided in this country that the mere ownership of a title deed cannot be an absolute proof of ownership of that land. It goes way on how you acquired that land. Whereas ownership, title deed, are important steps into claiming your rights in that land. But how were the processes of acquisition? We have seen court orders revoking titles. We have seen court judgments declaring illegal ownership when title deeds have already been issued. So indeed, when you enter into that agreement, when you carry out that succession, and you realize that your title deed stems from certain documentation, maybe sale agreement, lease agreement, please make sure that those documents are well kept, because another person, another party may appear from nowhere and claim rights. And if you cannot prove how you acquired that land, then the title deed would otherwise be revoked.
All right. Moro, do you think Kenyans do enough due diligence when it comes to land acquisition? Because if you're looking at what Wakili is saying, it has also a very long chain, right, from when that particular land is given to you, and then you also hand it over to the next owner. So do you think we do enough due diligence to prevent any title deeds being revoked by the courts?
You see, in other jurisdictions, like let's say other countries, they've gone to an extent of that if today a state make a mistake that affect a citizen or affect any person who has an interest, and it is the state that was involved, the state normally compensates in other places. Today, if you go to any court, and probably you are jailed longly, 10 years, 15 years, then the court realize, and evidence come that you are jailed by mistake, you are normally compensated. In matters concerning RAD, we've seen a situation whereby RAD was acquired, the government was involved, the government has all the document of that RAD since you purchase the RAD. However, we talk about the Kenyans to do the due diligence, the government has got all records. Before I come to any government office to say I want to transfer this RAD to this, the government has got history when this RAD started, all the way since independence. So I think we should have a review. And this one I'm asking for our LSK to do this, and Wakili is here, they can go and try to look at that issue. How do you tell me it go to an extent whereby a registrar got to an extent of giving a title to you and ended up that there was a mistake? And remember, when they give the title to you, you went to the bank, borrowed the money. That means the bank also leased its own money. Tell me about our economy, whereby someone want to come from anywhere, from any other country, and they want to say, oh, this RAD is very good, I can use it as a collateral, and you borrow money with it. Then you hear there's a situation that can come, that title can be revoked. Will you have a way of compensating the person? Because if the government make mistakes, let them take ownership. Let them take responsibility. So when it comes to Kenyans, majority of Kenyans rely with the government because it's the government that are custodian of the signatures of the registrar. Registrar are the government officers, and they are the one who have got everything. So Kenyans try to do due diligence as much as possible. They use lawyers. But you realize, today you can find someone with 2 sets of titles. Huyu ako nayo, na mimi niko nayo. Only to realize, yesterday I was reading in the newspaper a case of, I don't know whether in Murang'a or somewhere in Kiambu, some coffee people, some cooperative somewhere, their RAD, which was 500 and something acres, a case which has taken years and years, was acquired illegally because the officials who are there, they got court orders to say that they are the legit owners. They are the legit officials. It was in yesterday's newspaper. Now you can imagine, court was involved to give this, to say someone was the legitimate, who are the legit officials. But now those were conmen. So the legit owners were denied their right. So if today that fact can be known, because it was in the newspaper yesterday, would that 547 acres be revoked? All those titles be revoked? We saw another one in Kiambu. I don't know how that issue of Kiambu will go. Maybe Wakili can help us more to understand how that issue will go. But today we're also having challenge with our own system, our own judicial system. Because our judicial system is good, but sometimes we say delay defeat equity. Sometimes you are delayed for years and years. And here you're following a case. Maybe there are matrimonial issues. People are fighting because of the inheritance and all those kind of things. And those are some of the challenges that we go get. You go and buy a piece of land, and you realize that the piece of land that you are buying has a dispute. But you, when you are buying, you didn't know that you're buying. Wakili can tell you, if today you go and buy land from Mr. John, and Mr. John has a wife, and another wife has appear from somewhere, and another, it will become a dispute somewhere.
A polygamous setup.
Yes. But now, what about John has a company, and that land is registered in the name of the company? That company is a person. So we are dealing with that person. So today, if you buy a land from a company, that company should not be part of the succession, because the company has issues of paying taxes as a company, has issues of other obligations. So unless Wakili can try to fafanua hiyo tuone iko namna gani.
All right, Wakili, like Maura is saying, of course, many families fight over land after death of a parent, or the owner of a land, if in cases where there wasn't any will left behind. So how does the law of succession guide who gets what piece of land?
Well, now in succession...
Just hold on to that.
All right.
Just hold on to that. Let's take a very short break. We're coming back with that particular point, the law of succession.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why. You and I.
All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. This morning, we are talking about land ownership rights with Silas Akiro, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and of course, John Maura Kogi, CEO of Finsco Africa. Wakili, before we went on that very short break, and I want us to rush this because we have very limited time, we were talking about what the law of succession says in regards to contested pieces of land where, there wasn't any will, but the parent is dead.
Yeah, well, when it comes to succession in Kenya and world over, we have two types of succession. We have one known as tested succession and intested. Tested is where a will is left. Intested is where there is no will. Where the succession is intested, then the family may sit to agree on how they are going to share the deceased land, or where they fail to agree, then the law of equitable remedies comes in, where every member of the family is given equal share of that estate. But before then, I remember there was a very pertinent question you asked concerning due diligence. In a split second, allow me give some reaction. When you are purchasing or buying land or acquiring rights to land in Kenya, it is important that proper due diligence, not just due diligence, to be done. And due diligence today, we undertake it in 4 main areas. We have the historical search. Please get to know how this land has passed in this community from one person to another. That is where some lawyers have come up with the phrase that at least you need to have a drunk chap within the community who will tell you, hii shamba ni ya nani, na tena ameuzia nani, nani anarudi kuichukua. So then you get to know the intricacies around that sale. You also need to look at registry search. So you do searches at the land registry, where you will be given a copy of the register, which is the green card. You'll be given an official search, and then you will be able to know how land has been entered into the entry or the register entries of the land registry. You also need to do judiciary search, where you will be able to know if this land has some court orders, some encumbrances, some preventive orders or judgments against it, so that you do not take over land that is going to transfer serious liabilities to you. And then lastly, we have to do company search. He's just mentioned that companies today can own land. Somebody will tell you that this is my land, but when you go to the company search, you will find that there is a company that purchased this land, and the rights that are accruing to a natural person also accrue to an artificial person. Artificial person here being the company. So when this all due diligence is undertaken, then you will be able to know whether you are entering into a deep ditch or you are actually purchasing proper land. Thank you.
All right. Maura, talk to us about some of the mistakes that you see Kenyans are making in this day and age when it comes to buying land and how we can avoid them.
You have touched my nerves now. That's what I like to discuss most. Because as I told you, the contribution of the real estate in our sector, in our country, is about 14% there, about 12 to 14% there about. Mistake number 1 is failure to understand the laws, the governing laws. And the first failure comes at the county government. Remember, I told you, RAD is a devolved function. Now, for all this RAD transaction to happen, it will start at the county. Start at the county level, because that is where the approvals happen. Now, there's a misinterpretation of law at the county level. That today, members of county assembly and some county government can go and sit down and violate the constitution. You are protected by Article 65. Article 64 And then let me talk about all other articles, because chapter 5 of the Constitution talks about land and environment. We have public land, communal land, and private land. Let me specifically talk about private land. When you are having private land, you are protected. In fact, the entire Article 40 of the Constitution of Kenya protect you on that your land, and you are not supposed to be deprived. In fact, the article is very clear. It says that even the parliament or the state cannot enact a law to deprive you your land. And even if they can do that, it says, the same Article 40, that if the state deprive you land for public purpose or for public interest, you must be compensated. That is what the law says. But now, even with that protection by the Constitution, county government go to make, I don't call them mistake, it's carelessness. They go to make some careless mistakes. That they create law to deprive Kenyans their rightful properties. That is one mistake, number one. And Kenyans, sometimes, you ask me what mistake we make, is failure to understand law, bring you to someone to understand. What somebody is telling you, I've seen some county government here hapa tuko karibu hapa, telling you that you give 10% of your land because of public interest. And I want to ask you, madam, you are having 100 acres again. 10% of whatever they're asking is 10 acres. So you remain with the 90. Then you sell 20 to me. And the 10% you give to the county government, as they say. Then you remain with 70. This 70 that you remain with, then you sell it to Wakili. And he has his own title. When Wakili will plan to go and present that title to county government, then he's still requested to give 10%, which is 7 acres. Then he subdivide, he sells to another person, whatever. Then he remain with another 50 acres. The 50 acres, it's bought by you. You who has 50 acres, then the same county government is asking, where is 10% surrender for public amenities? Those are some of the ignorances that we are having. And if those things can be removed today, that thing can end. And today, we are appealing even to our Senate to check the conduct, and especially of the governors, because of abuse of office, abuse of power, making those laws, and they prevent you from getting your approvals, and you stop development. Those are some of the mistakes that we are having. Not understanding that Kenya has so many sectors that are making our economy to work. This Gen Z, some of these young people that you see working, having there without jobs, they are majorly dying today with the sector in the real estate, because it is employing so many people. But those mistakes at the county government, I think, even our treasury, because no single county government can today sustain itself from the money they collect. Including this Kiambu. How much money do they collect? 5 billion? How much money is their budget? 21 billion. So they're expecting to get money from somewhere, from the national government. But where does the national government make its money from? So when they go and prevent a Kenyan to construct, because the governor is not in, the CEC, Akonahoma, those kind of issues, those are some of the mistakes we are making. And it is a responsibility of our MCAs, it is a responsibility of our Senate to do their oversight role to ensure whatever is happening. Otherwise, we all go to court.
All right, Wakili, and as you wind this up for us, talk to us about some of the legal, principles that you would want any landowner to know before acquiring land and living in that particular piece of land.
Oh, wow. As has been hinted at by my colleague panelist here today, indeed, there is compensation when your land rights are violated and the government is not left out. The government's acquisition to private land is always in two legal doctrines. That is the doctrine of eminent domain and the doctrine of police power. Now, police power is where the government takes your land and does not compensate. Takes it for security, it takes it for a public interest. But then there is eminent domain where the government decides to take your land, but then the government replaces, pays some bit of amount to compensate where the government is transferring you from. Now, a bit of the little mistakes we normally do is for you to identify land, get some posters online, and then you go to Jivanji, get a few lawyers there, and then they just stamp to you without proper due diligence. What are the land buyers in the country are required to know is be in the current affairs of the land you want to buy. Even if you had the agreement to purchase land, but you have been undertaking negotiations and conversation month after month, year after year. At the point when transfer is about to take place, consider redoing due diligence again. Where your land rights have been violated, do not forget to sue the government, and that is the land registrar and the attorney general, so that while the individual who has violated your land rights will be ordered by court to compensate you, the government will also be held liable, civilly liable, for not protecting your rights, for allowing the registers to be duplicated, allowing unauthorized entries into your private property. And the compensation from the government is usually not a little money, which Kenyans cannot forget. Now, in summarizing, or rather in finishing this aspect.
In 30 seconds, please.
In 30 seconds.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so as we said, there are aspects through which you can own land. There are aspects through which government can take your land. And there are aspects through which you can be able to ascertain that you are actually not buying hot air, you are actually buying land. And so we urge Kenyans to be vigilant before you take over ownership or rights to any particular given piece of land. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Silas Akiru, advocate to the High Court of Kenya, and John Mwaurakogi, CEO of Finsco Africa, for making time for us to have this conversation on land ownership rights. We haven't touched on so much, including land fraud, but hopefully we will next time. We see you online. Good morning, TV47 Kenya Morning Cafe. That is Apareng Apex, George King's tuned, great insights. And Anita and Maina is also watching. Thank you so much. Don't go too far. We are coming back with more conversations after this break.